We sit around a table, and some of the actors are already involved, or just a bunch of actors have gotten together who asked me the same question for years. Who's the greatest actor you've ever worked with? Sometimes they ask who impressed me the most. Sometimes they ask who changed the way I think about acting. I usually smile, give them a polite answer, and move on. Because the real answer has never been that simple. The longer I've lived, the less interested I've become in awards, headlines, or box office numbers. Those things matter while they're happening, but they don't stay with you. What stays with you are the people, the ones who challenge you, the ones who quietly make you better without ever trying to. When I look back now, there are 5 people who shaped me more than anyone else. This isn't a ranking of the greatest careers. It's simply 5 remarkable people who left something with me every time we worked together. And if I had to begin with one name, it would be Marlon Brando. Before I ever met him, I studied him. Like almost every actor of my generation, I watched A Streetcar Named Desire and On the Waterfront over and over again. Not because I wanted to imitate him, but because I wanted to understand what made him feel so real. He never looked like he was acting. He looked like he was living. That's a much harder thing to do than people realize. When I finally had the chance to work around him, I discovered something that surprised me. The man behind the legend wasn't interested in showing everyone how talented he was. He trusted his instincts completely. If a scene needed silence, he'd stay silent. If a moment called for vulnerability, he wasn't afraid to look awkward or uncertain. That kind of fearlessness is incredibly rare. Most actors spend years trying to control every expression, every movement, every line of dialogue. Brando seemed willing to let the moment take him wherever it wanted. Watching that changed me. He taught me that truth is always stronger than perfection. Audiences don't remember performances because they're flawless. They remember them because they feel honest. I carried that lesson into every role afterward. Long after the cameras stopped rolling, Brando was still teaching me. The second person probably won't surprise anyone either. People spent years trying to convince the world that Al Pacino, I were rivals. I never believed it. The truth is, it's incredibly difficult to find another actor who pushes you to become better every single time you share a scene. Al was one of those people. We came from similar neighborhoods. We admired many of the same actors. We respected the craft for the same reasons. But we were never trying to outshine each other. We were trying to make each other better. And that's a very different thing. Every time Al and I worked together, I knew I couldn't relax for a second. Not because I was worried about him stealing a scene, because he had a way of finding something unexpected. A pause you didn't see coming. A quiet look that completely changed the meaning of a conversation. It forced me to stay present. Some of my favorite performances happened because Al was standing right across from me. There was never any competition between us, only trust. When 2 actors trust each other, something special happens. The script stops feeling like words on a page. It becomes a real conversation. You stop thinking about your next line and start listening. That's where the best moments come from. Even after all these years, Al never stopped searching for something new. Success didn't make him comfortable. If anything, it made him even more curious. I've always admired that. The best actors never believe they've figured everything out. They're still learning. They're still taking risks. And Al has never been afraid to do that. The third person on my list is Christopher Walken. Chris has always been impossible to predict. People imitate his voice all the time, but they miss the real reason he's unforgettable. It's not the way he speaks, it's the way he thinks. Chris never looks for the obvious choice. He'll find one tiny detail, a glance, a smile, a long pause, and suddenly the entire scene belongs to him. None of it is accidental. Every movement has a purpose. Every silence means something. When we worked together on The Deer Hunter, I saw that commitment up close. It was one of the most emotionally demanding films I've ever made. Nobody walked away from that experience unchanged. Chris gave everything he had. He wasn't worried about looking heroic or making the audience like him. He cared about telling the truth. That takes courage. Actors naturally want people to admire them. Chris has never needed that. He's willing to make himself uncomfortable if it serves the story. I've always respected that because it reminds me that honesty is far more powerful than perfection. Hollywood has changed over the decades. Styles come and go. Technology changes. Audiences change. But Chris never chased trends. He stayed true to himself. Ironically, that's exactly why he's remained timeless. The next name brings back a different kind of memory. When people think about The Godfather, They usually talk about Marlon or Al. Sometimes they forget the energy that James Caan brought to that family. I never could. Jimmy had a confidence that couldn't be taught. He walked into every room as if he belonged there. Not because he wanted attention, because he genuinely believed in himself. And that confidence was contagious. Working beside him taught me something I'll never forget. Don't chase a great performance. Chase the truth. If the truth is there, the audience will always find it. Jimmy never pretended to be someone he wasn't. If something felt fake, he'd tell you. Sometimes people found that intimidating. I found it refreshing. In this business, it's easy to become surrounded by people who tell you what you want to hear. Jimmy wasn't one of them. He believed honesty was a form of respect, and I've always admired that. Looking back now, I realize he made me a better actor because he reminded me that audiences can always tell the difference between something that's performed and something that's real. Hollywood has produced plenty of stars. Very few originals. James Caan was one of them. And that brings me to the final person on my list. Some people might wonder why I've saved him for last. The answer is simple. Without Martin Scorsese, I don't think I'd be the actor people know today. Marty isn't an actor, but no one shaped my career more than he did. When we first worked together on Mean Streets, neither of us knew where the journey would take us. We were just trying to tell honest stories about people we understood. Years later came Taxi Driver, then Raging Bull, Goodfellas, Casino, The Irishman. They became chapters of my life. What always amazed me about Marty wasn't that he had all the answers. It was that he asked the right questions. He never walked onto a set telling me exactly how to play a scene. Instead, he'd ask, "What do you think your character is feeling here?" Sometimes that one question changed everything. He trusted me enough to explore. He gave me the freedom to fail. And when a director gives an actor that kind of trust, something special happens. You stop worrying about getting it right. You start looking for the truth. That's what Marty brought out of me, time and time again. People often praise directors for what appears on the screen. What they don't see is the confidence they give the people standing in front of the camera. For more than 50 years, Marty believed in me. Sometimes before I believed in myself. That's a gift I'll never be able to repay. When people ask me today who the greatest actor I've ever worked with was, I still don't have one answer. Because that's the wrong question. The better question is, who made you better? Who challenged you? Who inspired you long after the camera stopped rolling? For me, those people were Marlon Brando, Al Pacino, Christopher Walken, James Caan, and Martin Scorsese. Each one taught me something different. Courage, curiosity, discipline, honesty, trust. Those lessons lasted far longer than any award ever could. The older I get, the more I realize that careers aren't built on trophies. They're built on the people who stand beside you when nobody else is watching. I'm grateful I had the chance to learn from some of the very best. And if anything I've done has inspired another actor somewhere along the way, then I'd say I've been a very lucky man. Thank you for listening. And if you enjoy stories about the legends who shaped Hollywood, subscribe to the channel for more unforgettable stories. Until next time, stay curious.